In 1956, Bishop Harold Morris launched an appeal. Make the Mother Church of Suffolk worthy of the county. The initial design of the tower and the building was estimated to cost £275,000 and be completed by the Golden Jubilee of the cathedral in 1964. The cathedral didn't need a bell tower, as the Norman tower, built between 1121 and 1148 by Abbot Anselm, had served as the bell tower for St James since the early 1400s. From 1959, the new cathedral building was underway, under the direction of architect Stephen Dykes-Bauer. But by 1962, the design of the tower had changed again. Building work continued, but by 1970 all funds were spent, and Bishop Leslie Brown declared building works finished. In the 1980s, work recommenced with the building of the cathedral centre, but the forecast costs for some areas, including the tower, were much higher than the funds available. The tower ended up as an ugly stump, with metal rods protruding upwards. When Stephen Dykes-Bauer died in 1994, the cathedral received a substantial bequest of nearly £3 million, the priority of which was to finish the north transept and the main building. Thankfully, with the tenacity of the provost, later Dean James Atwell, at the third attempt he managed to secure match funding from the Millennium Commission. Together with the generosity of locals and the patronage of Prince Charles, the project started in 1999. The design by the Gothic Design Partnership reflected the work of their mentor, Stephen Dykes-Bauer, and John Wastel, who was the original architect of St James in 1503 and Bell Harry Tower at Canterbury Cathedral. Those of you who may know Bell Harry Tower at Canterbury Cathedral, it's very much like the tower we have here today. This is where we embark on our ascent to the top of the south transept and our first views. So here we are. Our first ascent is to the top of the south transept, through this little door. On our ascent of the tower, please take advantage of looking through the crenelles, or little slit windows, to the different views that you see as we ascend upwards. Here we are arrived on the top of the south transept. These are our first views. You can see the medieval layout of Bury and Churchgate Street, which leads down to the Norman Tower, where thousands of pilgrims per week walked or crawled their way down the street through the Norman Arch to the Abbey Church and the Shrine of St Edmund. It must have been an awe-inspiring sight. See this massive church with its beautiful bronze doors. We were talking earlier about the stump that was left before the tower was built. If you look just above these first windows, that is where the stump was. The build of the tower pushed through those windows, through the old stump, and built on top. But I think you need to notice the quality of the stonework in this point. It's made from Barnack and Clipsham stone, quarried from the quarries of Lincolnshire, limestone. And it's the same stone that the Abbey Church and St James is built of. There's 9,244 blocks of stone, each one finished by hand. Each one connected by lime mortar, and every one was an exact fit. We're now at the base of the tower, and we are going to move through into the gallery, where you're going to get views of the nave ceiling and also the inside of the bottom of the tower. You'll be looking through agricultural grade glass. This glass was actually selected because of its diffusing properties, and it's the same glass that's used on the outside of the tower. You will also see views of the organ, and it's one of the only places where you can see the organist playing. If you look through to the west, through these little windows, you get a beautiful view of the nave ceiling and the west window. Parts of that west window were actually originally just below where you were standing. If we look to the east, through the windows to the east, you get a view of the chancel and the organ. Now the painted organ pipes and cabinets, etc., are painted trampaloi, which means they are painted to deceive the eye. They look as if they're carved, but it is purely paintwork. We're about to start our ascent to the top. But before we get to the top, we'll be popping in to the top of the tower ceiling. There are things in there that I'd like to show you. We're now over the top of the tower ceiling, installed in 2010. It was fashioned from 26 tons of Croatian oak down to 6 tons after cutting and hoisted in here in parts. The whole thing was actually built at the manufacturers of this ceiling in their canteen, taken apart, brought to the cathedral in those pieces, hoisted up and reconnected. And everything once again fitted perfectly. At this point, I'd normally say 150 stairs to go, but there's only a few. You've now climbed 202 steps to the top of the tower, 160 feet off the ground. But small in comparison to the old Abbey Church, which would have towered 200 feet above here, more than 200 feet above here. But the final part of this build was the installation of these pinnacles. Look to the top of these pinnacles. On the top of each one, you'll see a gold-plated weather vane, 22 karat gold, and hopefully all pointing in the same direction. But also surrounding between those pinnacles is a Gothic representation of the crown of thorns. From this view, if you're very lucky on a very good day, you can just see the top of Ely Cathedral. But also in the foreground you can see the old Abbey Gate, the gate to the main working part of the Abbey. This was rebuilt in 1327 after the townsfolk burnt the original one down. This is the best view we can have of the footprint of the old Abbey 500 years ago when it was destroyed or started to be destroyed. Parts of the Abbey stonework can be seen all around the town in different walls and gardens. Here we have a view of St Mary's Church, built in the 1400s, and the great graveyard. Many things happened in the graveyard. The monks used to rent out plots for 6 months. Once your 6 months was up, you were replaced by somebody else. Good income for the Abbey. And in this view, you can see the layout of the old medieval town, the medieval grid as it's called. And on top of the Athenaeum, there's an old Victorian observatory, which cannot normally be seen from the ground. So now we're going to make our descent. Notice on the way down the quality of the brickwork. There were 600,000 specially made bricks in imperial size for this build. Hope you will be up here soon. Under the new tower, a plain and uninspiring ceiling was in place until in 2010. The crowning glory of the tower build was installed. The decoration of this beautiful ceiling was formed as a tribute to John Wastel, the original architect, and Master Hugo, the illustrator of the Bury Bible. The tower of St Edmundsbury Cathedral will probably be the last cathedral tower to be built in this country. It has been designed and built to last 1,000 years, with little maintenance, and we can only hope our descendants at that time will still be able to enjoy its beauty as we enjoy our ancient cathedrals now. The experience of climbing this tower is not one to be missed. You can visualise how all the ancient cathedral towers looked in their pristine condition when first built, and reclaim the sense of pride and achievement our ancestors must have felt.